12:01. Let's go ahead and get started so we can get you guys out of here on time. Thanks for joining us again for the quarterly state of QuickBooks Desktop. I know we've been doing these kind of periodically over the last couple of years as there continues to be varying messages, maybe that's the right way to say it, around what is happening with Intuit. And we just want to make sure that everybody feels like this is a good, comfortable place to have the discussions, ask the questions, also to build confidence. Because, you know, as everyone is full aware, Fourlane has been working for the last several years at trying to make sure that people, if they choose to leave QuickBooks Enterprise, that they have a good place to go. The hard part is that the price gap is just so wide between QuickBooks and what they do in the next level of product. And then also QuickBooks is just so fun and easy to use. And everybody knows how to use it somewhat. Most people have touched it at some point in their career, so it's easier to find staff. So good news, couple good things as people are joining us. QuickBooks has put out on their website for the first time ever how many users, how many licenses of QuickBooks Enterprise there are out there, and it is 220-something thousand companies, licenses, right? Now, that's not just companies, because as most of you are aware, y'all have multiple companies in QuickBooks Desktop. And so that's not even just desktop, that is enterprise only. They have not put that number out there in years. To put that number in perspective, of course, when it comes to licensing in the QuickBooks Online space, when they count how many companies are using QuickBooks Online or how many users, right? You see these big numbers, 10 million, 6 million, how many users are using it? They are counting every individual company. Now, we have some clients that have hundreds plus companies using QuickBooks Desktop. So the numbers are not equal, but 220 something like that, thousand licenses out there of enterprise. That is an amazing number, and that should build confidence. The other perspective to put that in is, I think in the Acumatica space or the NetSuite space, we're talking about 30,000, under 20,000. So it is just a massive amount different. So plenty of people here sticking in the enterprise space. I've heard that the number is similar still in Pro and Premier for quantity of licenses out there. So that was a big one for me to see this last quarter, was because it's always this kind of unknown, right? And if you think the average user is about 5 users, you take that, that's well over 1 million users using, the enterprise products. That's awesome. Okay, that's not what I wanted to share today, but I'll kick things off with that good news. All right, desktop updates. We did have a July release, which we already talked about in our last session. There was also an October release. They surprised me. I emailed over to the dev guys and I was like, hey, when are you going to release this? They said, we released it last Monday. And I was like, oh, I mean, even though I know these things are coming, I also, the communication even here is sometimes hard to follow. But great news is it was released. So we're going to talk about what was released in October. As a reminder, there's not going to be a 2025. I know a lot of people, you see it in the news, oh, there's not going to be a 2025, desktop is going away. This was a strategic decision to not release 2025 and instead do mid-year releases where those feature-based changes are released periodically throughout the year instead of having to do fresh installs. So that October release, for those who have installed it, that was a pretty hefty one. I think I had to run that overnight because I could not run it quickly in the morning like I usually can. It was a hefty one. And then they did another hefty one a couple weeks after that to fix a couple of things. But you don't have to do full uninstall and reinstall anymore. That is a good thing in my eyes, because uninstall and reinstall is one of the #1 calls to support, #1 problems fighting with Windows, and we don't have to do that anymore. So it is a good thing in my eyes. Now, that's not to say that they're never going to have us do a fresh install. It's just not going to be required every year. Okay, good news in my eyes. Everybody can look at it differently. Feel free to give me feedback on what you think. moving to, and I have a whole bunch of questions coming in, so I will pause for questions. So just as a reminder, in July, in case you missed it, they did do the inventory turnover report, which is exciting, right? Inventory turnover days is something that people have been asking for a long time. But the most exciting part for me, and I use this now frequently with customers, is this last sell date. When is the last time we sold this product? That field being there is awesome. I use that, I'll drop it into Excel and I'll figure out, right? Oh, we've never sold this product. Can we go get rid of it? Those kinds of things. Also, July update, the prepayments on estimates was rolled out. We had it on sales orders last year, but they rolled it out on estimates. There's also a couple reports that they said were released around this as well. So let's talk about what was released in October. I'm going to flip on over into products. So this is something that we have been asking for years. So when people say like, oh, they're not investing in desktop, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys, do you see these things? We have been asking for some of these things for years. And at some point, by the way, at some point, there's not going to be able to be more features, right? That's what I literally tell the guys who would, do all the planning around the product dev. I'm like, at some point, you guys aren't gonna, you guys have to just focus on what we can improve and not just continuously add new features, because at some point there can't be more things. So let's hop on over and look in product at what this looks like. Sales orders connected to purchase orders. So when would we use this? All right, so this is only in 24, by the way. Sometimes when they do these like new updates, they will roll them back to all supported versions. So they would go into 23 and 22. But this feature is only available in 24, and it's only available in Enterprise, of course. So when would you use this? Right, so a workflow that a lot of our clients use is a client calls them, right? A customer calls you. They ask for a price quote. Okay, so you create an estimate. That's what an estimate's for. Estimate is non-posting, doesn't affect anything. You're just keeping track of what price did I tell this customer they would have to pay. Okay, dates on estimates are very important, by the way, because you want an expiration date, because you don't want them to come back 2 years later and say, you quoted me this price. Well, right, but that was 2 years ago. So estimates are just quotes. Okay, now obviously if you're in construction, maybe this is a little bit different, potentially, but what we like to say is, all right, when client agrees to move forward, we're going to split it to sales order. Now, sometimes with customers, estimates will be more simplified and we'll make those sales orders very detailed, right? So it'll have every single product service that we need to do for this customer. When you convert it to a sales order now with this new feature, you can keep track of what you have purchased. So in the dropship world, right, you can keep track of, because you have a purchase order line for every sales order line in the dropship world, right? In the construction space or the GC space, you have a purchase order for services for all of those lines on your sales order. Sales orders do not have to just be for product. They are great for product, let's be clear, but they don't just have to be for product. So this new feature allows for that. And again, if you guys need help with workflows, always, we're over here, can help you be creative. Building complexity into your accounting system should not be something that's done just because. It should be done for a purpose, right? So we're using features, we're using reporting, we're doing something with this. So we don't want to build in complexity for complexity's sake, but if you can take advantage of it, if it will help in your workflows to not have to track something offline, then let's look at how we can implement it. So this is a preference. Okay, when we come down into our items, one of the things too that I was super excited about is the way that they structured this. So it is this little checkbox here in your company preferences that you want to link and track sales order line items with purchase orders. Okay. Now, of course, this is brand new, so I don't know the effects that this is going to have on things like, a lot of you guys have heard me talk about, removing data from your database. I'm assuming it's going to add to these total links, but I haven't really, we need to see people start using it to be able to tell you the end effects of it, because you can't back into that yet. And I cannot believe that it would be part of the API yet for us to be able to see it. from our side. So linked transactions, we're going to have to track to see how it affects things. Okay, so now that I have it set up, when I come in to my sales order, and I'm sorry, this is very zoomed in so you guys can see it better, so I apologize, it looks not great probably on your screen. But when I come in here to my sales order, I have a new column, the linked PO column. This is part of your data layout, right? So when you come into your template organization under the columns, you can choose, right, what you want to call it. If you don't want to call it linked PO, you can get rid of linked if you want to. You can show it on the screen. You could print it if you wanted to. Again, don't know why you'd want to do that, but potentially if you are sending it, I don't know why. I don't know why you would print it, but maybe if you're putting on the packing slip for some reason, I'm not sure, something like that. You could reorder it, right? Put it in the appropriate order if you wanted to move that to like column number 1 as an example. So it is showing up in there. So I'm going to go ahead and create a sales a sales order here. I'm just going to choose an item. And when I put the item on here, I'm going to order 85 of them. Okay. Yeah, all of my pop-ups. Oh, Lordy, goodness gracious. Okay. And then I'm going to order 25 of these, and I'm going to go ahead and say save, right? Whoop, I've got my little beep on this because it's a new file that I just set up. So have it in here. I can't do anything with this. I can't click into this column. Normally columns you can't click into, right, are grayed out, but you'll see that you actually want to be able to click into this in the future. It's very similar to when you link a sales order on an invoice, right? It's going to link back with a hyperlink in here. So once I have this sales order set up in the system, the idea is that we are coming here to our sales reports, and then we have our sales order linked to purchase order report. Okay. So I have now on this report the 85 and 25. I can see that there are no purchase orders linked on this report. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see better. There we go. So you can see that there's no purchase orders linked on here yet. Okay. And again, some of the things that I like to point out with reports is just reading through it. What's the sales order date, sales order number, status of the sales order, the item description, the quantity, the amount, and then the PO date. You can see here's one's linked, the linked PO, and you can drill down and open the PO up from here, the vendor, the PO quantity, and then the item received, right? And you can also see cost and amount in here. When I customize this report, that's all the columns I have. It defaults to all the columns, but you can remove columns if you want to, okay? This is looking at this month to date, so you have to pay attention to the timing, right? Because really, you kind of want all time. If you're really looking at this effectively, you want to look at it for all time and then filter out for only open sales orders, right? Not just this month to date. So it defaults to this month, so be aware from that. Be aware of that, but you kind of really want to switch it to all, I would think. All right, going back to my sales order now. Of course, we can create purchase order from sales order and say okay. When I do that, it links everything in here. If I deleted this line, I could remove this line, hit save. When I do that and come back to my report now, right, it is showing that this sales order is now linked to this purchase order. When I go back to the sales order, I have it linked in there, hyperlinked, and it will allow me to open up to the PO from the sales order. Okay, so again, the purpose to me of this is so that I can go in and I can see what have I not put on an order yet. Now, if you're buying to stock all the time, this is not going to be effective for you, right? This is when you are buying to order. Okay. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. One of my, I've been very excited. I've been seeing this in preparation for a couple of years now, and so I'm very excited to see it live. It's very neat. All right, so we went through all of that. I would love to know if you guys think, if anybody thinks that they would be able to utilize this. A couple other things when it comes to reporting, because again, right, we can only do so much feature-based. There's only so many things you can do in an accounting program. But some of the reports that have come out now, or changes to reports that have come out now. So on the inventory valuation summary report, the stock status by item report, the assembly shortage by item, and the sales by item report, those reports, they added in categories. If you have not seen videos around categories, categories are now a way for you to organize your items list, right? So you can set up your items into different categories, and they are continuing to add categories to reports. When you add it to report, you can now choose to hide it, right? If you don't want them to see it. So you can see right now it's basically 2 levels of segmentation. So you can get creative. It doesn't have to be necessarily a category per se. You can get creative with how you can utilize these fields. But right now it's a segment by something on the items list, then they're doing it by inventory type, then they're doing it by item, or by item type and then by item. So if I hide category, right, it just does them all together. So that is available on a couple of reports now, which we have listed out here. And you probably will continue to see that hide category available in other places. Okay, the other thing that they added is collapse rows, and that it actually collapses effectively. So when we have collapse rows, it just goes way down. So if I say collapse rows and remove category, right, it makes it significantly smaller than what we're used to seeing before. This is done based off of a header item, right, and sub items. So you can see this bath and vanity fixtures. If I go look at my items list for, I went to chart of accounts. My items list for bath and vanity fixtures is a header item and a sub item, right? And then these are put into categories. So it's, again, just more ways to segment your data. If we do not know how to utilize this effectively, definitely give us a call and let us know. We can help you to figure out how to utilize these things effectively so that you can get better information to make decisions in your business, right? That's what all of these things are for. Not to overcomplicate, it's so that you can segment things out and make sure that you have data to make good decisions. All right, then the last thing that, I don't know why they didn't do this on the summary report, but it's on the custom transaction detail report. You can now total by category. Okay, you can also filter by category. And when you have that, you can filter by multiple, just one. So that is new. So again, if you take this, right, you take what we went over last time, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and I'll go through it kind of fast. We went over this time, 15, 20 minutes of what's changed. These releases that they're doing mid-year, they're still clearly investing in product in Enterprise, okay? Still clearly investing in it. So I just want to make sure that everyone feels it the way that I feel it. Okay, coming back to our slide deck here, some other news around QuickBooks. So they did, last time I mentioned that they were going to extend the stop sale around Pro and Premier. They did extend that, and then that has now lapsed, right? So as of 9/30, or starting October 1st, Pro and Premier new licenses will not be sold anymore. The idea behind this, again, some people look at this as a negative. They've been pushing that price point up for the last several years to make it on par with Enterprise, and having just one product is significantly better for all of us rather than having 3 products in Desktop that they're having to maintain, because QuickBooks historically has always treated Pro and Premier as separate products from Enterprise, right? Which they're not, and we want them to be unified, right? If we need them to continue to have this Desktop product, which we do because their online product is not on par for all of us who have multiple entities, inventory, manufacturing, right? Job costing is catching up a little bit in QBO, but definitely not inventory manufacturing, right? So we want them to have a focus, and by having 3 products, that is not helpful for our cause. So I am super excited about this. I know it's scary for some people. The move up to Enterprise is very simple. And then once you're in that enterprise product, yes, it might be a little bit more expensive, but the alternative is grossly more expensive than what you have here. Okay. Current licenses of Pro and Premier will stay active. The pricing did go up. If you guys need to go visit that, I can pull it up at the end of this meeting about what the pricing changes were that came about. Starting in October of 2024, also the new licenses. So Fourlane has always historically been able to sell QuickBooks Enterprise licenses with a lifetime discount. Those lifetime discounts are not being allowed anymore as of right now. Okay. So if an existing license needs to make a change, they could potentially lose their lifetime discount as well. But I always say call us for anything licensing related. Let Fourlane help navigate this waters for you instead of you trying to do it yourself, because it is very confusing. It can be confusing even for us. Enterprise also right now is having a promo. It's the first time that they've been on promo in I think a year. And so that was also good news, right? Because that means that the marketing team is paying attention to enterprise, and that's always good news for us. I did talk to a couple people from the enterprise marketing team last month, and they were very excited around the things happening with enterprise. And again, all of this is good for people who are in support of the desktop product. Other kind of buzzworthy things that I thought I would touch on just because it's entertaining. It's been an entertaining quarter with working with Intuit. So Intuit did have a breakup with your accountant ad that went out, and I know that it caused a lot of buzzworthy news here. There was a lot in the, because Intuit has built their customer base because they had such great relationships with tax accountants, with pro advisors, with advisors like Fourlane, right? That is, we are the people who have been out there getting our customers into their product for years, right? Supporting, moving customers off of outside softwares and into QuickBooks for years. So that ad did not hit well across our community. Luckily, Intuit saw quickly that they had made a mistake after hearing from different tax organizations and all this stuff, and I heard that they took that down. But the truth of the matter is that the hardest part, this is something Fourlane struggles with as well, is that we're all marketing to very different people, right? So in the QuickBooks, in Fourlane space, our customer base that we say that we work best with is the 5 to 100 million in revenue. Intuit works with people who are, $100 in revenue a month, all the way up to $100 million in revenue. And so it is very hard to advertise. So what Intuit said is that they were going for the people who maybe would go to an H&R Block or something like that. They're not going after the people who are going to go to, the CPA firms and stuff like that. And so it just shows the struggle with, they have such a massive market, and how can they advertise and compete but not step on toes? And so I think that they're going back to the drawing board a little bit around that. But it was entertaining. There was a lot of frustration. So I guess I shouldn't say entertaining, that's putting it down, because there was a lot of frustration. People felt very hurt by it, ourselves included, right? But Sasan addressed it at Intuit Connect, and I hope that they are starting to build that bridge back. Also in the reseller space, for people like us, there was a rollback on a choice Intuit was making to remove some of our compensation that they offer us as resellers, right? They had announced in early August that they were going to remove some of that, and they rolled that back as well recently. What I read into that is that it shows that they want to keep users in enterprise more, right? That was a big thing I heard from this rollback. Intuit's also recognizing the importance of advisors in the enterprise space. It is very difficult to support the mid-market because they all have full accounting teams. They are all very smart. It is a different level of business that you're talking to when you're speaking in the mid-market space, and I don't think that Intuit's fully prepared to take that on without advisors, right? So And then, Fourlane is still, I'll talk a little bit about this Intuit Enterprise Suite product that was announced this quarter as well. We're still waiting for the call to help with that generally. We do get asked to come in and help whenever Intuit's trying to go in mid-market, so waiting on that as well. The other thing that was really fascinating to me was there was the Intuit CEO Sasan was on The Verge doing an interview, which was a great interview, talking about the tax software and tax law and all these things. I thought it was really interesting. But the part that I took from it was around desktop, because that's what we're talking about today, right? And what the words were around desktop. So I put the quote out here. I thought I would let you guys peruse through this. So it says, a lot of our focus is how do we make the transition for our desktop customers as easy as possible to the cloud. If you look at any company that's had to go from server to cloud or desktop to cloud, it's difficult basically. But what the part that I took away with is, I say all that just to say we aim to make our desktop customers as happy as possible. That is exciting to hear. But also, it's impossible to replicate what they want in the cloud. And for those of you guys who have been following what Fourlane has been doing, that was like the best quote that I think he could have possibly said, because we did do that, right? That's what this CX product that we've been talking with y'all about so much is we did replicate it in the cloud. It's not taking away from QuickBooks. You still need QuickBooks, but it does do the features, right, that QuickBooks does in a cloud-based product. So it's just fascinates me that quote came out this quarter, and here this quarter is also where we are up and showing people how they can take and have accessibility, better user experience, right, faster speed in a cloud-based software that mimics some of the things that you would be doing in any accounting software, but specifically people, this one feeds into QuickBooks. So if you guys haven't checked this out yet, let me know and I can get you some information. It was just seen as impossible to replicate what they want in the cloud. And I was like, wait a second, I kind of want to say, like, what is that saying? Like, hold my beer. So here we come. So Fourlane's always going to support our customers and what they need. All right, so accessibility and speed, user interface. Okay, QuickBooks Online. We're running up against time here. Should I move to QuickBooks Online? Obviously, that is still an option for people who are ready. We will always be transparent with our customers if it is a good fit for you or not, right? If it is going to be an okay fit and it's not going to break your bank because you've got 100 different QuickBooks files, great. We will help you to get that move into QuickBooks Online. But we'll also tell you when there's going to be concerns, because we do move people constantly who have moved into online back to desktop, and it's just silly to have all of that extra headache and anxiety. So talk to us first. Intuit did release Intuit Enterprise Suite, which is their QuickBooks Online products plus, MailChimp and QuickBooks Time, and a couple of other things like embedding payroll inside of there. I've heard, not seen, to be very clear, I have not seen, because as soon as I have my hands on this product, I will be demoing it for all of us. But I have not been allowed to touch this product yet, which is fascinating, right? But Intuit Enterprise Suite could be a little confused with QuickBooks Enterprise Desktop or Desktop Enterprise. I'm not quite sure what they're saying right now. Don't know why they had to take our enterprise name, but hopefully we will continue to have communications around this and make it so it's not so confusing. But the Intuit Enterprise Suite is not, very clearly, not meant to replace QuickBooks Desktop Enterprise. From what I have seen and heard, they are not going after manufacturing. They are not going after inventory. It will not have sales orders. That is not the current state, right? Those are not the current priorities. They have seen that they cannot do some of these things in online products, as we saw in that quote before, and they are leaving those features in the enterprise desktop for now. Okay, so I don't want anybody to get confused. As soon as we have this access to this product and can see what it can actually do, we will be demoing it, but I don't want anyone to get confused that this is a solution in its current state for QuickBooks Desktop. okay, or QuickBooks Enterprise. It is not. As always, I'm here for questions. I hope that this was informative. If you guys have other things that you would like me to cover in these sessions, please let me know. We do have our Enterprise webinars every single Wednesday, so if you guys need information about that, please let us know as well. But that's all I've got for y'all today. And I will get to questions after this. There are a whole bunch of questions that came through. I will get to questions after this session. We'll be reaching out to you guys directly, okay? I did see a couple things like this sales order linked to purchase order is going to be a game changer. So very good feedback coming in. All right, guys, that's all I've got for you today. Again, please shoot me an email if you have questions. Any way we can help, we're here to help navigate any of these changes. Oh, Julie asked what's the new price for Pro Plus. So there you go, Pro Plus, Premier Plus. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon.